All right, last but certainly not least, Dr. Sarah Klopatek, Global Chief Livestock Scientist with JBS, works on livestock sustainability research, regenerative agriculture initiatives, carbon accounting, life cycle assessment development, and land use change model development. Species expertise include beef, pork, and poultry, and her focus includes regions include North America, Brazil, Australia, and the UK. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Klopatek.
Thank you, everyone. It's good to be an Aggie. I'm very proud to say that I graduated from this university with around the same time Sam did. I want to give a big shout out to the professor that got me here, actually multiple professors that got me here, but especially Dr. Jim Olchin. So I just want to say thank you. So we've been talking about the micro, the very low level. I just want to bring more of a 30,000 feet perspective. First off, anybody heard of JBS? This is the right audience. This is great. Okay, so JBS is the biggest beef packer in the world. They're number one. They're number two in pork, and they're number one in poultry. So when you're thinking about the supply chain, JBS is a big chunk of global beef. And we've been talking about feed additives, and I know I get discussions about, Sarah, what about feed additives? How does JBS contribute to this? What is JBS doing? And it's really different when you look at something like a Brazil beef system versus a US beef system and what is and isn't possible. And I've gotten this article a few times. Bloomberg came out and they said, I don't understand why companies like JBS just don't give feed additives. Why don't they just have feed additives given to their supply chain that would fix the problem? It would fix the methane problem. And that's what this article said. And when we start actually going through the details of this, we start to see that there are some challenges. So if we're going to give a feed additive, and it was brought up multiple times today, there is really no feed additive that we can give that's not in a TMR where we can measure it, we can monitor it, we can go forth, follow regulatory protocol. But if there was one that we could give to the feedlot sector that would reduce emissions by 25% in that sector, we would only reduce methane emissions by 1%. So if we gave every feedlot animal in the United States over a course of a year a feed additive, it would reduce total emissions from the greenhouse gas sector by 1%. So methane from the feedlots would be decreased maybe 25%, but the whole spectrum would only be 1%. And here's where it gets real challenging. It would cost $1.4 billion. Has anybody gone to the grocery store and seen the price of beef lately? Has anybody talked to customers about what they care about when they buy that beef? This is the challenge. How do we keep creating a product that consumers can afford, that is healthy, and that can have a low carbon footprint? This is incredibly challenging, and this is what's often missed when we have these discussions, the true cost of mitigation. So are things possible? One day, maybe they will be, but they have to be cost effective. And this becomes incredibly challenging. And this is what keeps me up at night as a sustainability scientist. The biggest thing that's keeping me up at night, although methane is definitely there, it's supply. Are we going to have enough cattle to keep our business doors open? We had a huge methane reduction. I don't know if anybody sees that, but we went from 31.7 million head of cattle in 2019. We are now below 28 million. We're at the lowest cow herd in the last 65 years. That is a concern. We've had a huge decrease in methane emissions because we've decreased the cow herd so much, but that's not being mentioned in the news. You know what is? The price of beef. And so how do we balance these things out, and how do we keep this reality in focus? Because when we talk about trying to build back this cow herd, it is assumed that we can. But when we look at things like the Great Plains, and we're seeing that land conversion is happening at a faster rate than the Brazil Amazon is being deforested, it becomes concerning that maybe we won't be able to build the cow herd back. I think we're doing great things in this country. Like, I'm going to give a big shout out to California Rangeland Trust and what they're doing, trying to keep open spaces open, trying to prevent this conversion. And they're doing a great job, but the fact is things are just going to get harder. And so right here, there's some excellent work by Working Lands for Wildlife, and they do phenomenal research, and what they showed is how bad not only is the land being converted, but it's getting encroached upon. And so we're having horrible invasive species tree encroachment that is happening at this point. And between, 1990 and 2019, we lost $5 billion worth of forage. Why is that happening? Because we are not having as many grazing lands available. We're not having the quality of grass in the grazing lands that we used to have because of tree encroachment, because of invasive species like cheatgrass. So at the end of the day, we have the lowest cow herd because of drought. We have less grazing land available, and the grazing land that we are having available is getting encroached upon. And then finally, we've done an amazing job in the beef industry of lowering our beef water footprint. We've lowered the beef water footprint by 29% on an absolute and 38% on an intensity. But the fact is, no matter how good we do, we are running low on water in the West. This keeps me up at night. So when you put all these things together, when you put together methane, when you put together water, when you put together the cow herd, when you put together that there is a rancher, man or woman on the ground that's there creating your food, that's when we start thinking about the system, and that's when we start thinking about sustainability. We can't put all of our eggs in one basket. We need to diversify. And I would like to leave you with this image. This image means a lot to me. This was research that we recently published at UC Davis. Huge shout out to California Cattlemen's Association and NCBA. And this was done with ranchers across the country. And I asked these ranchers, what does sustainability mean to you? How many of you see greenhouse gases in that picture? It's not there. That doesn't mean they don't care about climate, that they don't care about these issues. What it means is that's not going to be their top concern. Their top concern is, can I have a ranch tomorrow? Can I pass this ranch to the next generation? And all of these feed additives, all these interventions, all these things we want to do is targeting the people that filled out this word cow. And we need to make sure that we are bridging that gap, and that everything that we're discussing here not only meets the needs of climate, but meets the needs of the men and the women on the ground. So with that,